Are we killing ham radio with cram testing? An interesting tweet popped up on my feed and it went something like this. Can we talk for a minute about how hard it is for people to dip their toe into ham radio? I just had 4 friends study for weeks, take a 12-hour study class, then run the gauntlet of VE testing only to have 2 of them pass. This is a lot of hurdles. To which I replied, to dip your toe into ham radio, you don't need a license. You need someone licensed to actually get on the radio with you and show you how to do it. Unfortunately, we've fallen into the cram test trap where we encourage people to cram and pass and then abandon them. Let me tell you about me. It took me 6 years from learning what ham radio is to finally getting licensed. This might seem like a long time, but in between I actually learned quite a bit from practical experience being involved with learning real hands-on ham radio. But by far, the biggest advantage I had was a mentor who took interest in what I was doing. I had no question pools, no cram books, no easy answers. I had the RAE manual written by George Benbow, G3HB. This manual was all theory and really no questions. It had some simple questions, but when I took the exam, the questions were completely different. I studied that manual and passed quite easily, but only because I had a mentor to guide me along. And when I came to the States, I was licensed 3 years already. I signed up for an exam session and I passed all the way to extra in 1 session. But the most mind-blowing thing about this is that I didn't really study. The only thing I learned were US regulations, which were a bit different but similar in many respects. What made it easy for me was because I knew ham radio. And from this, 25 years later, I grew pretty much into a lifelong interest in amateur radio. There are ebbs and flows, but ham radio is now permanently ingrained into my way of life. So this now brings me on to something. Do we really need to make every newcomer we meet cram the test and get licensed right away? It seems as though we may actually be doing a disservice to them. Don't get me wrong, we should get them to the point of being licensed in a short time so they can get on the air with their own call signs. I think that 6 years was a bit long for me, but our test was harder than the US technician or general. At the same time, I think that in addition to getting people licensed, we should be showing them ham radio before they pass the test. Teach them how and when to turn the knobs, push buttons, let them build antennas and simple circuits. Let them experiment with digital modes, fill out QSL cards, and learn things like repeater procedures and propagation. Teach them how to operate and call CQ and answer calls, or maybe talk on satellites. I do some of this with a local school, and I have been doing this for years with other people. I think with this, they can get a good solid foundation so that when they do get licensed, they can be confident to get on the air. They don't need a license for this. You can be the control operator. As long as you're ensuring that the station operates legally and you adhere to third-party rules, you can have an unlicensed person operate your station while you supervise them. And while you're doing that, teach them not only the questions and answers, but also why the correct answer is the correct answer. This may take a bit longer, but I think it will build a lasting relationship with ham radio. But as I said, this is not a one-size-fits-all. There are people who can cram the test, get a radio, and feel right at home. But there are many who need hand-holding and mentoring, many who will have mic fright, many who will encounter awful people on the radio repeaters who want to scare them off the air because they didn't do it the hard way. And this does mean that part of this mentoring is going to have to be how to turn the knob when they encounter something that isn't welcoming. It is up to us, all of us, who are licensed and experienced to get them raised right, because we weren't all born with a ham license and every bit of ham knowledge there is. We too were new. What do you think? Sound off below. Peace and 73s.